So good evening, my name is Tim. I'm the owner of Anderson Rescue Solutions. We're based here in Raleigh. So I was a fireman up north for a while. I was started in 2001 and was on the job in Philadelphia. And I needed a piece of equipment that didn't exist, so I made it with no intentions of it becoming a thing. And then other people wanted one too, so I was like, all right, cool, whatever, I'll make a couple of these. And that snowballed, and I was dumb enough to come up with more stuff and should have rolled over in bed and forgotten the whole thing because it took over my life. And I ended up with 2 full-time jobs, 3 little kids. We didn't have any family in 500 miles. So in 2021, we moved down here. I started doing this full-time. I missed the fire service really badly. I went back. I did 6 months in Nightdale and a year in Durham. I hit the same conclusion that there was not enough hours in the day for me to do both and still see my family. So, so this is my full-time job. I design equipment for you guys and go from there. So what this is, let me, why don't we move, I'm going to be honest, if you're back there, it's going to be worthless. So scoot up a little bit, let's be friends. You got to be able to see what we're doing, or I'll just move into the middle.
Yeah, I'm a blind man anyway, so I need to get right.
So what this is supposed to be sort of end-user demo training on these kits that you guys got that are going to y'all's station. So I designed this kit to be sort of a one-stop shop for rope-related fireground stuff, particularly for firefighter rescue and search. What we tried to do here was maximize the efficiency of one piece of kit. So you're not grabbing a couple different bags, all this kind of stuff, but one bag should accomplish everything you need to do. So what I'm going to do here is just break this thing down, explain what's in it, how it's supposed to be laid out, and then we'll go out in the apparatus floor and kind of show how it's designed to function. It's very specific and it's designed to make life easy, but only if you set it up right and do what's supposed to be done. So what this is called, this is the Fireground Special Operations, or FSO, that's the name of this bag that we designed, but it's the Firefighter Rescue and Search Kit. So this kit is designed to be able to do wide area rope-related searches out of one end of the bag and do firefighter rescue from below grade or above grade out of the other end of the bag. So the shoulder strap is a G-rated anchor strap. So if I need to, I can take it off and use it in a system for rescue, things of that nature. This is a double-ended rope bag. So instead of a drawstring opening on one end and the other end being closed, both ends of this bag open. So we have 2 ends of it. We have line for life, so there's just a straight line across this end, and A for anchor. The line for life side, this is going to be what we do our rescue stuff out of, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And the A for anchor side is what we will deploy for rope-related searches. So there is one 150-foot rope in this bag. It's not 2 different ropes or 2 different systems. It's the same rope. It is a 7/16 or 11 millimeter rope with a Technora sheath over a nylon core. So Technora is that highly abrasion and heat resistant fiber that's in like bailout rope, stuff like that. This rope is extremely rugged. We've used it for years in all kinds of environments, and we really like it. It has sewn eyes at the end, so you don't have to tie any knots. It's just ready to go. It's not going to come undone. Easy to use. So 1 rope, 2 systems. In the A for anchor side, so this bag is designed to minimize work on the fireground, minimize fine motor skills. There's no little hooks or clips. There's no drawstrings. So you can run the rope directly out of the end of the bag without even opening it. So the A for anchor side, we leave the end of the rope just clipped on this little tab. It hangs out there. The way you guys have this one, you want to tuck it in and keep it clean. But it's designed so that I can just take the rope and run. However, I don't want to be stuck with my bag in the middle of my system. So all the end caps in this bag open up. There's a series of snaps, and Velcro, and you can escape that, open it up all the way. So on this A for anchor side, this side of the bag is set up for wide area search. We'll talk about the mechanics of that out there. But on this side, you have the end of the rope with one of these large carabiners, and you have 2 prusiks with metal rings sewn into them. This gives you something you can hold on to, something you can feel. We're going to use this when we get into wide area search. I'll talk about how it's utilized when we get outside, but that's what hangs out on this side. The way you want to set it up is you want the press-up to be inside, so we're going to kind of repack what I just took out here. All I want sticking out of this end is the carabiner and the end of the rope. So I'm going to pop that guy back here. The best way to get this to line back up, if you do open the end cap, which is kind of rare, it's not something you have to do all the time, it's more for emergencies. But if you line the snaps up and then fold the Velcro back on itself, it'll set it up well. But this is how you want the end of this bag to look when it's on the truck. So you just want the end of the rope sticking out, that carabiner clipped onto that webbing loop, and that way it's easy to deploy. On the sides of the bag are two pockets. Inside of these pockets are two 15-foot, what we call branch lines. So the main rope, when you're doing a wide area search, is going to be your trunk line, like a tree, and these are branch lines. I'm going to get into that out there, but there's one in each side pocket. The way you want to pack it, they have directional cones on them to help with search patterns, which we will talk about. So one end doesn't have a search cone on it, one end does. You want to pack it so the one without the search cone goes in first. That way, when you pull it out to deploy it, and we'll get into this out there, you're able to find it right away. So the one without the cone goes in first, and all that you got to do to pack that is just shove it in. There's no science to it. Don't try to coil it or anything. Just stuff it in like you would a regular rope bag. How you going? I'm back. It's very important you guys got an extra seat on the truck when another structure fire pops out. Because I'm jumping on.
We just lost it. Yeah.
All right, sounds good. Sounds good.
There's only 3 on the truck right now, so yeah.
It's the most important question of the night is where am I riding when the big one comes out. So when this is done, just clip this carabiner on the edge, and there's two of them, one on either side. And the other side, line for life. So this side we're going to actually open as opposed to just working it out of that end. And what we have in here is just 2 snaps. You just pull it open. So this is a very down and dirty 2 or 3 to 1 mechanical advantage kit. So the idea for this is to use for like window high point removals, like the Denver drill. A guy's trapped at the base of a window or a civilian and they're really heavy and you can't get them out. You can lean the ladder up above that window, hang this on a ladder rung, send this in the window, and you can haul them right out with it. It makes it pretty easy. We'll do this outside. You can also use this for through the floor maneuver. So if a firefighter goes to the floor, you can use this to make a high point, haul somebody up a set of basement stairs, all those kinds of things. You can utilize this into the bag for. Again, line for life, so that's your rescue side. It's very simple. So what this is composed of, we just have this big extra large carabiner that can fit over a ladder rung, and then 2 of these little roll clip carabiners. So it's a carabiner with a built-in pulley wheel. So it's a pulley and a carabiner in one, very minimal equipment, very lightweight, and it gives you a ton of different options, and it's very simple to use. So this guy lives in the line for life side, and again, we're just going to pack that whole thing in the end. No need to get crazy with it. It just sits in there and hangs out. Something else about this bag is the whole thing can split in half. So again, if I am for some reason running with the rope out of both ends, this entire bag will split open down the middle. So don't dump it out. I'm not going to do the whole thing, but it'll unzip and Velcro and split all the way open so you can escape the whole thing. And it also has a strip of canvas edge protection sewn on the inside. So if for some reason things get really weird, you can open up this entire bag to use it to pad things, pad edges if you got to use it on a roof, something like that. So that's what's in the line for life side. So again, we have a search side and a rescue side all running with the same rope. One other tool on here that's mounted on the top is called the multi-loop rescue strap. So it stays in this little pouch. This pouch closes magnetically. So you pack it in there, you leave one of the loops sticking out, and then if you need to use it, you just pull and you're working. So this is designed to harness folks in high stress. So I've originally designed it for firefighter rescue. It's good for anything you need for victims in fires, be them civilians, firefighters. I'm going to talk about some techniques outside specifically for this, especially for lifting somebody up, either through the floor, out a window, things like that. I know there's some of these floating around in the department. A lot of guys have their own. Some guys I see with mount them on their flashlights, things like that. But this is on the kit, so you'll always have one with you if you're deploying this for a Mayday or something like that. To pack this into this bag, and I've done this 80,000 times, so just practice a little bit. But you start at the midpoint, fold this carabiner over, and then you make 2 folds back and forth. So that's fold number 1, roughly about 8 inches long. Fold number 2. So when you're done, you end up with the center point away from you and the chubby part of the handles towards you. You slide that entire unit into the rapid deployment bag as one piece. And then naturally one handle will end up further in, so you stuff the strap in there, connect the magnets between the handle, and you're good to go. So that's what's in there. So those are the components of this kit, and that's how it's designed to go together. It's it's good that you'll have a video to reference to look at it in the future. Any questions on that? All right, so if we're gonna do a rescue, all I've got to do is rip this bag open. There's nothing fancy. There's 2 snaps on the top, so I can just put a gloved hand in and pull, and I'm in, and I'm doing my thing. Inside, we have the extra large carabiner and 2 of the roll clip carabiners. This is what we're going to use to make our mechanical advantage system. This is designed to be able to fit over a ladder rung. So in this scenario, think about the Denver drill situation. So let's say we've got a window right here. We've got a down firefighter at that window. They're really heavy. They're 250 pounds plus gear, plus they're soaking wet, plus everybody's exhausted, right? So it's really hard to get them up and out that window. Same thing, this could be a civilian as well. So if we can throw a ladder above that window or throw the main above the window, we're going to try to connect this as high above the window as we can. So if our window's right here, we'll try to get high so that we really get that high point to clear the window. But for demo purposes, I'm just going to put this on here, and my rigging is done. This is very simple. This is not a complex operation. You will see a bunch of things taught using ropes and ladders, where they come down and they're like, all right, wrap the second rung from the bottom and then do a dance and then wrap the bottom rung, and no. None of that matters. It's not very simple. All we're doing is clipping this onto that rung, and that's it. We're not going to get any more complicated than that. I'll explain kind of the operation here in a minute. As far as harnessing our casualty, so if it's down firemen, hopefully you converted their pack, whatever. Again, those kinds of things work well in theory. What if they're not wearing a pack anymore because the pack was the problem as part of the entrapment? What if it was during overhaul late in the job and there was a collapse or a guy had a heart attack? Any number of reasons. You can connect to a pack if you've got it converted well and you want to check them out the window that way. Or you can use the rescue strap that comes with the kit, or if you have it in your pocket. There's dozens of ways to use this tool. We're not going to get into all of them. So there's dozens of ways to use this tool. That's its own class and that stuff. But the bottom line is it's 7 feet long. It's made out of tubular webbing, but it has ropes sewn in these end handles so I can feel it with gloves on. That's the biggest thing, is I can orient myself on the tools instead of a loop of webbing that's just a loop of webbing all the way around. And it's stupid simple. Like I said, there's lots of ways to do it, but the baseline foundational thing is just tying a girth hitch around the victim's chest. I don't care if they're wearing a pack or not. I'll just go around it. So in this case, all I'm going to do is sit the casualty up, bring one handle around under their arms, pass the other end loop through that loop, cinch it down on their chest, and I'm done. And I'm chucking them out the window or lowering them off the roof or lifting them out of the hole just like that. People say, okay, well, is that uncomfortable? Of course it's uncomfortable. Is it going to cut off their breathing? No, not if you don't hang in it for 15 minutes. I've been thrown all over the place and lifted out of windows and roofs and everything with this on. Yeah, it's not comfortable, but if we're using this, we've got other problems, right? So our goal is survivability. Our goal is speed and getting them out. So the strap is sewn in a loop every 8 inches, and that's so we can adjust it. So this guy's obviously tiny. If it's a really, really big guy or somebody wearing a pack with gear on, it's going to be a wider circumference around their chest. So what that enables me to do, like right now, if I clip right onto this end loop, it's going to make it hard for me to clear the sill, right? Because I'm going to have to deal with all this all this extra tail. But what I can do is come down to sort of the closest loop to where the girth hitch constricts, or whatever I'm able to get to kind of in the moment. So now that's going to haul from a much lower point on this victim, and it's going to make it easier to clear the system. So here's the beautiful thing about this. A lot of the old systems that go with just wrapping the rung with the ladder, there's a ton of friction on a ladder rung. So by having these actual pulley wheels in here, it means that the system is efficient. The old systems, the inside team still had to do all the lifting. The outside team could kind of pull as they lifted and hold the progress, but there was so much friction that they couldn't really pull through it. This way, the outside team does all the work. They're going to be fresh. They're going to not be in the environment. So if I'm in this window, all I'm doing is making this connection and then saying, yo, start hauling. They're going to start pulling. Up our victim goes, and I'm just going to guide them. I'll turn them around, kind of shove them out the window, and then it's off to the races from there. So again, a lot of systems show like running the rope under the rung for control and all this kind of stuff. I could care less about control. Just hold on and lower them. If we're using this person's probably not breathing. If they break their ankle, I don't care. I need them to get to a hospital right now or they're dead. But that being said, it's really easy. A, you just hold on. B, if it's a heavy load, you have two people hold on or throw it under your butt and just lower them down. The only rules that matter are that you have to try to stay under the ladder as much as possible. If I'm out here pulling and I start lowering, that will tilt the ladder. That's the only thing that's actually really a problem. As long as I stay kind of underneath the ladder in line, we're good to go. We don't need to worry about adding friction, all that stuff. Besides, this is a 2-to-1 mechanical advantage. So if he weighs 200 pounds, I'm only holding 100. It makes it easy. We've done it dozens of times. Just let them slide down, get them to the ground. That's what matters. But again, the system is simple. Clip it on. Outside team can haul and do work. Get them up, clear that window, send them to the ground. So we can also use this inside. If you had somebody bottom of the basement steps kind of thing, you get them in a Stokes basket and haul that up if conditions allow, things like that. Hole in a floor. There's another option we have here, and this is going to be dependent upon the integrity of the floor and the building that we're in. Let me get that 6-foot hook from you, partner here. So we can throw this on with the big carabiner, and then we'll put this across our shoulders, and we just became the high point. So obviously, if the floor is compromised, this might be kind of tricky to do. But all our job is to stand there and hold it. Okay. Somebody else will do the hauling. Same deal. If there's a hole here, we just kind of center ourselves. Right now, this is set up as a 2-to-1 mechanical advantage with a change of direction. The problem is that puts 2 on the hole and 3 on us, which makes life a little more difficult. So what we can't do it from that end, but from your end, we can pass that through. So now, going in the hole, we have a 3-to-1 mechanical advantage. So 1, 2, 3 coming out, which makes it easier to haul. The guys, just hold that for me. I'll let you do this. No. So if this is going in our hole here, I can use my legs because instead of pulling down, I can stand up. So I'll be able to crouch down and stand up and really haul. The nice thing too, once we get our casualty to the lip of the hole or whatever we're hauling through, you guys just start walking to the side. Like bring the whole high point with you, and it'll end up sort of dragging them up and out of the hole. It's just a down and dirty trick that can make a difference. So again, right now this is set up as a 3-to-1 because we have 1, 2, 3 leaving our load, going through a high point change of direction. If we flip it around the other way, slide that off. And yeah, you could, any kind of down and dirty stuff. In this configuration, it's a 2-to-1. We have 1, 2 leaving the load, and this is just a change of direction to help us haul. That's pretty much all there is to this end of the bag. It's just simple. It's a few moving parts. One thing to note, just because these roll clip carabiners are heavy on the pulley side, they'll tend to want to flop like this. It's fine if you end up rigging it like this. It's okay. It's just adding friction. So if you're starting the haul, just try to make sure that flips when you start pulling. That'll enable you to get the most efficiency out of the system as possible. You can still haul through it if you didn't do that, but that's how it's designed to work.
What's your weight rating on those carabiners, the small ones?
I think it's supposed to be 4 kilonewtons on the working load limit, which is 1,000 pounds. The whole thing is 20, if I remember correctly. Yeah, 20. So that's whatever 225 times 20 is, a lot.
A lot.
So
Okay.
like pushing 4,500, 5,000 pounds, somewhere in there. So they're going to be fine for everything we're going to use it for. Don't try to haul a fire truck out of the mud with them.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Cool. So again, we got 150 feet of rope in the bag. So this gives you 50 feet of reach to have it come up, back down, and back down to you in order to do a lift if it's fully stretched out. Again, the main points are just clip it on a rung, get it high, and then make sure the haulers are staying in line with the ladder between the ladder and the building. Other than that, it's full send. There's no progress capture on this. In other words, if I haul and I let go, it's going to go back down. From a rope nerd world, they're like, oh, you can't do that. That's dangerous. Well, this isn't rope rescue. This is the Fireground, and we're operating with different rules. That makes life way too complicated. We need simple because we're going to be operating in high stress. We're going to be wearing this nonsense, and we might not be able to see. So simplicity is the key. Yep. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
All right, cool. Current, like if you have to go search a warehouse, are y'all bringing a rope with you? Do you have a search rope?
We got a search rope bag. Battle bag.
200 foot?
200 foot. Directional figure eights.
Okay, how often do you have eights and everything?
Okay.
Do you have like multiple one, like at 50 feet there's one, at 100 feet there's two?
There's not. So there would be a directional figure eight and two. There would be 2 knots.
Okay. Gotcha. And do y'all have any smaller branch lines to search off that, or you just have that big back branch lines? Is every apparatus running that, or
We
just
were, but I think once they're at the have this out.
okay?
So they're kind of mixed with the whole.
Gotcha. All right. So talking about wide area search and rope assisted search, we want to kind of move out this way because I'm going to need to move a little bit here once we get going. Because it's kind of nuanced and it's going to be different with every structure you go to. The biggest thing is to pre-plan your local, is to get inside big buildings so you know what they look like before you're pulling up there at 3 in the morning and it's filled with smoke. That's the most important thing. If you want to search a big building well, it's got to be because you knew what it looked like before. What we're doing with rope-assisted or rope-oriented searches is we're adding a more complex tactical option to a more complex scenario. That math doesn't add up. When things get more complex, we want simpler solutions. The problem is there is no better option. We're relatively comfortable with going to dwelling fires. It's something that we're used to. We all live in houses, so we can kind of picture what we're working with. We're not all working in warehouses and factories and all these different things. And so naturally, if you get a fire there, it's already going to escalate your physiological response to that. So it's going to make you more worked up, more nervous, your pulse rate's going to be higher, etc. just starting. This is before we've done anything. So now we're going to take a rope and add that to the search, which isn't something we do a lot either. So we're taking something that's not super familiar and we're adding it to this more complex thing. So the bottom line is if you want to be good at this, you have to own it and you've got to train on it. That's kind of the baseline. So there's sort of 2 broad categories for using a rope. The first one is what I call rope-oriented search. And by that I mean we're going to tie the rope off outside the IDLH. If it's a big warehouse, we'll tie it off the door. If it's a high-rise, we'll tie it off in the stairwell outside the fire floor apartment, things like that. We're going to drag that bag in with us, and we've got a rope that leads the way out. We'll talk about breaking that down, but basically, an ideal world, the officer or whoever is on this bag stays on the bag. We maintain our awareness to them, our orientation to them, either verbally or visually through a tick, or hey, I'm over here, we'll research this apartment. And then if things go bad, we can all follow the rope out. So we're staying oriented by the rope. It's the same idea as a hose line might orient you to. We brought the hose line in the door, we know where the hose line is, we're going to follow it out. The other option is what we call rope-assisted search. And by that it means we are physically using the rope to do our search. And that's going to be your more complex, like a grid pattern. Like if I know I've got a wide open space, like if this is my space, I know I've got a victim in here somewhere and I can't see. If I use the wall as guidance, I'm going to miss 80% of this space. So in order to make sure we cover it, we're going to use rope to grid that off and do that kind of search. I'm telling you right now, if you do not train on that, you will not do it in reality, and don't even try it. If you haven't practiced that, it's a complex skill, and it's not something that you just want to make up one day. 90% of the time, you're going to do that basic rope-oriented search where you're just dragging this bag in. We've got our way out, and that's going to be our way to operate. The rope-assisted is kind of a higher level. If this thing is full of clutter, it's full of machinery, it's not going to work anyway. It's kind of a very targeted, like we need to search this wide area that's pretty open, and we have no way to orient ourselves in without a rope. So, looking at rope-oriented, again, looking at this bag. So this is designed, again, to minimize fine motor skills. So all I've got to do to start, I don't even have to open the bag. I'm just going to unlock this carabiner, and I'm good to go. One thing you can do is put medical tape on these to keep them open at all times so the gates don't close. In an ideal world, I'd have no locker carabiners on here at all, but the NFPA ruins everybody's life, so we got to have them. I'm working on changing that, but we'll see. But that's one tip: is just put some medical tape on here. You can tape them open, and then if you really need to lock it for some reason, you can bust through that. But yeah, keep these unlocked. And so all I'm going to do is disconnect that. I'm going to pull these two prussics out, make sure they're out of the way. And again, I'm just going to find an anchor. So we're just going to find something outside of the IDLH, and boom, I'm done. Nothing fancy about it. This just needs to be substantial enough that it's going to take the pull. We don't want it to drive away, so this would probably not be the best anchor because somebody could hop in this and start moving. So try to avoid that. Try to find something that's stationary. Usually fire apparatus at a large scene are not going to be moving. So if you got a fire truck right there, cool. Just be careful with what your options are. Within rope-oriented search, so again, just the sort of guideline option. There's sort of two ways that this plays out. The first one is what I call passive rope-oriented search, and that means like, hey, I grabbed a bag, I walked into the structure, like, cool, maybe we'll use this, maybe we won't. I might end up throwing this in the corner because I'm lazy and I wanted to go fight fire and conditions, let it happen. Should we do passive rope-oriented search? Probably not, but I also live in a world of reality, and that's going to happen a lot. I've done this at fires. It's like, listen, guys, conditions are kind of weird. Maybe it's okay. Hey, I pulled a rope in here. It's sitting over here in the corner. If things get spicy, we'll jump on it and figure something out. So that's why I call that passive. We've taken a rope with us, and we should do this all the time. We go to big buildings, get in the habit of bringing a rope. Are you going to keep a guy dedicated to that? Maybe, maybe not. That's why we call it passive. It's kind of like, look, we got the rope in there. Things get weird. Maybe we'll escalate this. So that's what I mean by passive. The other one is what I call active rope-oriented search. And by that I mean that whoever drags this bag in, that's their job. They know it's their job, and we know it's their job. Like, we know, hey, we're bringing a search rope into this situation. It's going to be there. That's that person's task. They're going to stay on that task until it's obvious that they need to stop doing it. Couple ways you can do this. One of the keys with this is trying to keep tension on the rope, which we'll get into especially when we do the other evolutions. But if I deploy this rope out as I'm going in the building, I can crawl, I can do whatever. But if I need to hold tension on this, it'll kind of get tiring after a while. If I'm crouched down, just pull it on this, the fire gloves on for a half hour. That's going to get kind of old. So one of the options we have, there's two prussics on here, and in this particular scenario, the one closest to the anchor is going to stay. We're just going to leave that one outside. The one closest to us, we can either clip into the shoulder strap of the bag or clip into our harness. Now people say, wait, I don't want to go crawling in there with a rope attached to me. That's bad. Well, it's bad and it's good. So with everything, there's a positive and a negative, right? So yes, if things get really bad, I'm tied to this rope. I got to figure out how to jettison it. But if I'm crawling into an environment that's completely unknown and I crawl into a shaft, this could save my life. So it's kind of a pro and con. So basically what I'm going to do is, as I'm deploying this out, so as I'm doing my search, I'm just going to mind this prusik, stretch this thing out, and then if I ever want to stop, these are brand new, so you got to kind of adjust them a little. But if I want to stop and keep tension, I just lean back, and my body does all this work. And that'll come into play a lot, especially later when we do the rope-assisted search. But here I can stop here. I can maintain tension on this line. It's simple. I'm using my body weight to do it. It keeps the rope off the ground. So if guys coming in want to follow it, it makes life easy. I want to move. Just grab my prusik, and I can start searching again. The other option there, like I mentioned, is I can drop this into the shoulder strap. So now, again, I'm just leaning back, using the weight of my body to put tension on this. And if I want to escape it, I just check it off, and off I go. It's not going to do much for me if I fall in a hole, so it's that trade-off. That's why I say knowing your buildings is the most important part about wide area search. Trying to get in there first. But again, this firefighter's job is this. They're not going to get in there and be like, ooh, cool fire, and drop it and run off and play. Like, if you're deploying this, until the operation is mitigated, got to stay on this so everybody knows that that's the plan. The key with this, too, if this person's doing their job right, their air is going to outlast everybody else. So they're going to be able to crawl in here and kind of chill while everybody else is working hard. So think about some scenarios here. Home Depot, right? Crawl in. We kind of can all visualize that because we've been there a million times. We got these long aisles. Our officer, if that's me, that's a tick, come to the end of the aisle. He's going to stay there and chill. Be like, all right, I know you guys are searching down there. Stay oriented. You can hear him yelling. I'm banging a tool, so you guys know how to get back to me. They get back to me. Cool. Let's move on. We go down to our next aisle. All right, guys, I'm going to stay right here. I'm working with you. That way they're off doing their thing. They're not attached to me at all. They're not attached to the rope at all. But they're staying oriented. Things could be like, yo, fellas, let's get out. And I can sit here and I can maintain tension when they're on that line. Once they're on it, I've got accountability. Boom, we're all going out. Okay. Another good one. The fire that y'all were dispatched to earlier looked like it was in an apartment building. Same deal. We got a long hallway. Officer can maintain this in that hallway. So we come down, we search the room. All right, I'm going to the room to the left. Cool. I'm going to still stay right here in the hallway. I'm staying at that door. I've got a rope that leads us to the stairwell or the exit. They're searching off. They can stay oriented to me, and that way they're not getting turned around. When they come out, I'm yelling. They know that I'm there. I've got a tick. My pulse is staying lower than theirs, so it's going to help me conserve my air. It's going to help me stay oriented with the tick and watch what's going on, watch the conditions. Basically, by putting somebody here, we're adding this safety person that's kind of watching over everybody. They're maintaining the way out. They're maintaining the orientation for the team. And it's a very simple thing at the end of the day. All it is a bag of rope and something to put some tension on. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
So the big key with this, attention to tension. Make sure that we keep this thing tension so it's easy to get in and out. And then making sure that this person's job is dedicated. We all live in a world where staffing is not the greatest. So it's a bit of all right, are we going to give up a guy to do this? But in one of these big buildings, it just might be the thing that saves the team. So it's worth all right, we're gonna lead off with this and have it work. Okay? Does that make sense? Sweet. All right, one of you guys trade with me here. I'm going to talk about some of the other stuff. Now we're going to transition to what we call a rope-assisted search. So again, we are using the rope to assist us in the search. We're going to be secured to this rope. It's basically a tool, an extension of our body that we're going to use. The scenario that, again, we're looking at is some wide open space without a lot of objects in it. A gym, something like that, where it's flat, it's wide, but we know we might have a victim there. Here's where the other prusik comes into play. So in this case, our officer, whoever's gone in, they're maintaining tension on the line. I can come in myself or with two guys. If we did two, we both use the same prusik. That way we all come back to the same spot when necessary. So these branch lines are 15 feet long. They have a directional cone by the beginning, and then at 5 and 10 feet, and then you have the end, and it's obvious if you're at the end that you gotta go the other way. So they're designed to, the reason I mentioned when we were talking in there about packing them, the search cone should come out first, and then that's the first one that you connect to the ring. So that's guiding you back to the trunk line itself. So let's assume I got to come in here and search this room. I'm going to set myself up where my cones are. Gotta pop them in my hand here. Works best if I can do it from reverse. So start with the carabiner, go to the second one, then go back to the first. So the way to remember how to do this search pattern is that I'm always moving forward, never starting back. So I'm going to set my prusik. Again, these things are brand new, wants to break in a little bit. So I'm going to crawl forward until this thing tensions. At this point, I'm going to sweep out. I'm going to go from the trunk line to the trunk line. So I've got a 5-foot radius that I'm covering all this space, trying to find something. I'm going to work my way all the way back to the trunk line. If I don't find anything, I drop that cone, I go out to 10 feet. I do my search. Come back all the way to trunk line. I don't find anything, I drop it, I go to the end. Do my search. I've now covered 15 feet off of the trunk line. I've got a guy on the other side, we've covered 30. I don't find anything, I come back. I'll finish that way. If you start forward, you'll finish at the end. You crawl back to your prusik, electric cones, and then you say, all right, well, how on earth do I know where to start again? So there's no perfect science to it, but realistically, if I've gone 15 feet that way, and my search distance is 15 feet, I want to go 30 feet that way. How do I find that? Well, when I make like a crawl movement forward, that's roughly 3 feet. So if you can remember it, just crawl forward 10 times. It's not an exact science at all, but like that's kind of the baseline. So if I just grab my prusik, 1, 2, 3, so on, I get to, a rough estimate. You're going to keep going too, and then I start the whole thing over again. Sounds pretty complicated, doesn't it? It is and it isn't. Something that you're going to need to practice. So what are some other ways I can use this? So I've got this 15-foot branch line. Thinking about an apartment building, right? So let's say we got a center hallway apartment. We have a 3-man team. My officer can stay in the hallway. One firefighter holds onto the end of this and just kind of crawls into the apartment. We're getting pretty deep. Now that other firefighter can be off the rope entirely. He's free, but he's also got somebody close at hand. If the smoke's pretty bad, it can guide him back. All right, cool. You got me. You hit that bedroom. I'm right over here. I'm over here. We get back. All right, sweet. We got a rope. We can get back out to that hallway, get back on the line. It's very easy to get turned around in severely packed down apartment fires. Fortunately, I've been there. So that's one way to use it. You could also, if you had to search, again, we're looking at the sort of store aisle thing, or movie theater aisle kind of deal. You could put 2 of these ropes together. So my officer stays in the main aisle. I could put 2 of these together, one firefighter goes till it stops, next one connects and goes. I've got a 30-foot lanyard that I can use to extend down if I feel like I need to stay on a rope all the time. At the end of the day, like I said, this is going to slow you down and it's going to add complexity to a complex scenario. So you have to think about, do I really want to do this or not? But again, there's certain scenarios where there's just no other way to do it. If you've got to search this open space and it's zero vis, you're not going to be able to accomplish it unless you have a systematic way to do it. And this gives you that option. Let's say that we had to either go around a sharp bend, or we forgot the prusik, or we thought this was going to be an easy day and it got worse, and I left this somewhere or I lost it. I can simply just take the carabiner. I don't want to just clip it on because it's going to, if I just put the carabiner on, it's going to slide wherever. It might, depending on what I'm trying to do, that might be okay. But if I simply take the carabiner and I just wrap this around once or twice, and then put it back to itself, that'll put a lot of tension, and now that won't go anywhere. So it basically works as a prusik if I need to just stop there. And I can then slide it like one too. So if I need to move, I can slide it and then stop and pull, and that'll accomplish the same thing as the prusik. You got two of these, and two of the prusiks on the line, kind of solve the situation. You know, there's a lot of, you see a lot of material out there. You don't have to hold pinch lines anymore, you're good. There's all kinds of different training stuff out there, you know, do this, do that. The problem with this is that no two buildings are the same. And no two fire conditions and no two buildings are going to be the same. So, like, do you always have to do something? There's very few alwayses and nevers, and that's why I don't like when people teach it that way. It's definitely going to be like, here's what our options are, know what it's capable of, and read your building, read your fire condition, and try to do something that's going to keep you alive. Any questions on that?
Is there any weight rating on this tagline?
It's pretty stinking strong. Let me see if it's on. I'll look it up for you. I mean, this is it's 7.5 mil rope, so it's like going to be the equivalent of like a bailout rope. So it's going to be around 3,000 pounds probably. But I'll look up the actual number.
Doesn't really matter. I mean, it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be enough to get something done if you need to. The main rope is a G-rated 11 mil rope. So let me talk about that for a second, because I know you guys have the kit with all the knots in it. Nothing against that. This kit does not do the knot thing. Bless you. It does not do the knot and ring thing. So you'll see a lot of kits that either have the knots for distance, or they'll have like rings to connect in here to at different intervals. So with the connection rings, that assumes I need to search at those intervals. And the space between Home Depot aisles is way different than the space between aisles in a movie theater is way different than doing this. So the movable prusik means I can stop every foot or every 50 feet. I don't have to disconnect. I can stop wherever I feel like it, wherever the conditions dictate. The knot thing, both of those systems, the rope is no longer a rescue rope. It's a rope with a ton of knots in it. So like, I can search with it, but then if I need to start to do rescue, it's going to get hung up on all sorts of stuff if I got to pull it through anything. So the beauty here is that this is both a search rope and it is a rescue rope, so I can then accomplish rescue with what I'm doing. Finally, the depth thing, though an interesting piece of information, is I don't know what I'm going to use it for, right? So let's say, like, all right, like I'm 3 knots in. So I got to stop and feel 3 knots, and in my brain I got to start doing math, which is hard to do under stress. But if I'm in that space in zero visibility where I'm counting knots, I still need to get out. So I just need to keep going. And it's kind of like, am I going to take time to figure out how deep I am in when the solution is to just keep going and get out of the space? And that's kind of my take on it. Somebody like, oh, well, I can estimate hose stretches. Well, we're not making pianos here. Like, this rope's 150 feet long. How far in do you think you are? We're probably going to, within 100 feet, you can probably say, all right, stretch a 300-foot line. Like, I think the kind of pros and cons deal. But that's why this rope does not have that, and kind of why we set the system up the way we did. But
Is there a reason why it's only 150 and not longer?
the weight and length comes into play. Like, you can only carry so much. How big is your rope? Is it a small, skinny one, or is it same size? Yeah, I mean, that's what we kind of come up with that works for us. This bag could maybe get 200 feet in. So it's just a trade-off. We're at 150.
Just knowing how long Home Depot is, or
Sure.
Walmart, or whatever.
Yeah.
150 ain't gonna get it, but that
Yeah.
and you also gotta have to split it up in quadrants anyway.
Sure, exactly. And you can marry these kits together. You can run one out and then extend it with another one. Because 200 feet isn't going to get it either. So it's like, all right, either way, we're going to need multiple ropes for this. And that's one of those, okay, looking at how far in we're going to get with being able to get out, like you said, hit it from different spots. So plunge that building from all different angles so that you're not super deep from one point. And if you think about it, like, I know everybody's running long attack lines now, but your typical 200-foot attack line, it's going to have at least 50 feet in the front yard between the structure and the bumper, and then maybe 150 feet in the building. So it'll be roughly the average length of the average hose going into construction. All right, so let's assume for a second that we're doing our thing. We've been in here kind of chilling, and now I'm running out of air. Or we need to, our team's gonna leave, but we don't want to kind of lose our progress and things. So I can take this off, and then I can take the shoulder strap, and if I find an object, in this case I have something easy here, I can figure out how to do this. And now I can just tension it. And then we crawl out, and that stays roughly tensioned where it's at. The other thing you don't want to do is split the bag apart. Like right now, the bag's kind of dead. It has nothing to do with this. But I don't want to be like pulling the bag apart. The bag's just not meant to take that. But this way, I can now leave this for the next group. So we can crawl out, and then the next group comes in, and it's not just laying in a mess, getting pulled out everywhere. It'll be somewhat fixed for the next group to come in. Similarly, if I run out of rope and we need to extend it, we can do that same deal. So I'm going to take my next rope and just flip onto here and keep going. If we leave this, bring another line in, flip off somewhere, the bag's done, we're not worried about the bag, flip off, this keeps this under tension, and then off we go for the next one. So if you need to switch out crews or whatever, that's how to do that. Cool. Make sense?
Yeah.
You want to try to mess with the high points?